Today we're making sponge cake, a household dessert. Please come on and join me as I show you how to do it. Hi, I'm Christine Sinanan, and today I am going to make my delicious sponge cake. But this sponge cake is just not about being delicious alone. It's about the history that's associated with it. It's a recipe that was shared by my late aunt. She was a home ec teacher in a secondary school, and she knew that I love to bake. So all her baking recipes she would share with me. And today I am baking this cake almost every week. And I want to share this lovely recipe with you all. So let's start. So I have today 5 ounces of butter, which I'm going to add to my mixer now. I'm going to start my mixer. And I'm going to add 1 cup of granulated sugar. The speed of my mixer is medium so that it can beat, and it must get pale yellow and fluffy, and you will know the consistency. It takes about 7 minutes to have this done. So I'm going to leave it and let it beat in the meantime to get to that consistency while I sift my flour. So I'm sifting 2 cups of all-purpose flour, but I want to really make this into cake flour. So I'm going to remove 2 tablespoons of the all-purpose flour, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of corn flour. Then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then here I have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now you know salt brings out the flavor in anything that you cook and bake. I am now going to sift this all together so it will be mixed properly. So I wanted to talk so much about my aunt. My aunt loved me so much, and she wanted to share all these recipes with me. And I mean, I talk about her, and every time I talk about her, I feel a little bit emotional because there was so much love that we both shared as a child and as my aunt coming home to visit so very often. I know wherever she is, she'll be happy to know that I'm actually filming her recipe today. Imagine that. She would never thought that would have happened though. So here it is. I'm almost done sifting my flour. So I now have here cake flour. I've made my own cake flour because I did not get cake flour in the supermarket, so I've made my own. And I have 3 eggs which I'm going to add. And then I made my own buttermilk. Now buttermilk tend to make your cake moist. So I add a teaspoon of vinegar, and then I added 5 ounces of evaporated milk. So guys, you notice that we are now creaming the butter and sugar. It's coming together very nicely. You've noticed I'm using a whisk instead of a beater. The reason for the whisk, I find that it gets more air into the batter and makes a lighter consistency. And sponge cakes are always very nice when it's light and tasty. So I prefer to use a whisk rather than a beater. I am now going to add the eggs to the creamed butter and sugar. We need to add the eggs one at a time. It's 3 eggs I'm adding. So I'm going to break them one at a time and add them. Now the reason is that I do not want the eggs to curdle while it's beating. So I'm going to add it one at a time, and also to ensure that of course we don't add any, sometimes there are shells and stuff like that. We need to be very wary of how we break our eggs. Okay, so I'm going to start with my first egg. I'm cracking it. So I'm now going to add it to my cream, butter and sugar one at a time. And I'm now going to add my essence, which is my vanilla, and my almond, which is half teaspoon of almond and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm now about to add the flour. Now I'm going to add the flour in 3 parts. And after every part, I'm going to add my buttermilk. Now the reason I'm going to lower my speed of my mixer to low, because I already have leavening agents into my flour, and I do not want the cake to be dense and hard. So I've now added all my flour and milk in 3 parts into the mixture. I'm going to increase the speed of the mixer to just a 1 notch, just to get the flour together into the batter. And I'm now stopping my beater, and I'm going to fold the balance with my hand. And then the cake is done to go into your pan. Imagine that. Very quickly, we just got this going. Can you imagine? You have a cake in under 15 minutes. Mixing time and your baking time will take at least, for the most, it will be about 20 minutes. So I'm now going to add my batter to my pan. Now this is a grease pan. I've lined it with some wax paper, so it's easy for the cake to be removed from the pan without sticking. I get it to about 3/4 up high, the batter should be. And I tend to knock this cake a few times on the counter just to make sure that all the air bubbles are out of the cake. It's up to you, but I like to do that. So I just raise it and about 6 inches above and just leave it and let it go down, you know, to make sure that the cake settles before I put it in the oven. Now you've set your oven before at 350 degrees. You have a nice warm oven to just put your cake in to start baking. So guys, this is our cake. It's now out of the oven. So I am now going to remove it from the pan so it can cool very nicely, so we can have a nice little slice in a minute. So I'm taking one of my plates and just put it over. I've loosened the edges already, so I'm just going to flip him over. Alright, so here he is, out of the oven, out of the pan, removed the wax paper, and I'm going to flip him over again so he'll be on the right side up. And there it is, your beautiful sponge cake that you can now have as a dessert with your coffee and with your friends. Wow, so I can't wait to dig into this nice slice of freshly baked vanilla sponge cake. Wow, you see that texture? Isn't it beautiful? Wow. Yum, yum, yum. So guys, you saw this lovely slice of cake I just had here. I mean, it's a product that can be easily made in less than 3/4 of an hour. Ingredients are easily available in any supermarket. You just have to make sure you have your butter, your sugar, your eggs, your flour. You've gotten the tip of how to make cake flour. So you don't have to look for cake flour in the supermarket. You can actually make it at home. You know how to make your homemade buttermilk. I mean, everything is at the tip of your fingers. And you will have a lovely dessert in memory of my aunt who shared this recipe to me, and now I can share it with you all, with your friends and family, and have a lovely tea evening. Enjoy, guys.